What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the vlog. Let's go ahead and start our day, but first let's see if we can get a cold start on the Speed 3. See how it sounds. It's a good cold start. Now let's get into what has to happen today. So this next part that I'm going to explain to you requires a little bit of backstory. On Saturday, I went to drop off the Z at the body shop to get that huge crease pinch pulled out, as well as the front fender passenger side realigned. And when I dropped off the car, we're all good. I got picked up, taken home, and then about 2 hours later, when they went to move my car, they said the car won't start. That always leads up to excellent things, right? So prior to this, like 3 or 4 days prior, I had the issue where the Z wouldn't start, and it turned out that all we had to do was wiggle one of the accessory wires on the positive battery terminal, meaning it wasn't making good connection, and the car fired right up. So I thought, oh well, maybe the same issue's happening, maybe we didn't clean off all the battery terminals well enough, you know, there's bad connection, no problem. So drive up there to take a look at it. Car won't start, same symptoms. Now what's happening is when you go and turn the key, the starter engages, the motor starts turning, but there is like half of the electrical system is out. So there's no fuel pressure because there's no signal going to the fuel injectors, there's no spark. The whole gauge cluster, instrument panel, idiot lights, all that stuff aren't lighting up. And the mirrors, or not the mirrors, the windows won't go up and down. However, the headlights still work, the windshield wipers still work, the radio works, the subwoofers work obviously because that's just directly hooked up to the battery, and the boost controller worked, the boost gauge worked, the what's it called, the AFR gauge worked, and there's a dead skunk somewhere. Man, that's bad. Anyway, and a stock Z32 on the positive battery terminal has the big one, which, you know, the clamp goes onto, and one other one, another wire that connects to it, which goes straight into the that little fuse box right in front of it, with, you know, the main fusible link and all those other ones. So when it came down to it, so many electrical things were working that I didn't really think it to be the main fusible link. However, when I went home and started looking at everything, it has to be. It's the only thing that could keep the Z from starting right now, because the previous owners definitely tapped in and wired things up so that they aren't all as they were stock. So that would explain why I have so many things still able to turn on, even though the main fusible link could be gone. But after looking at wiring diagrams and now knowing where every single wire goes underneath that engine bay, we're now driving to the body shop to see if we can get the car started. So we made it to the body shop. Let's go ahead. They're not open yet, but I'm gonna go ahead and see if I can get in there and at least try to get the car started. Maybe since it cooled down, you know, some of the stuff has kind of shrunk back into place. Maybe the main fusible seal has such a small blow in it that when the actual wire itself starts to contract from being cold, it makes it touch and then it'll start, but as soon as it starts heating up, it'll separate. So maybe, you know, that's all it could be, and we're gonna go check it out. So we're in the Z. It started right up. That is really frustrating that I had to, it just started. As soon as I went in and turned the key on, all the lights lit up and everything. Yeah, so it has to be something that when it gets hot, the wire separates and you can't put it back together. Well, you can't see it, so it has to be, only thing you think of is that main fusible link. It has to be that. So I feel like I should kind of warm up the car and let it sit again, and then try in a little bit to see if it starts, because maybe after you turn off the engine and all that air stops moving in there, as the heat, you know, radiates out and slowly starts working up, it could easily get over there a little bit and then just heat up just enough where it just beep, doesn't even touch, and then it won't start. So I'm gonna take a minute, think of what to do, and then we'll continue on the vlog. So that was an easy decision. If the body shop wants the car fixed first, they aren't, if it breaks down again, they're not getting paid to store my car while it's broken. So I'm going to take it to the garage and we'll see if we can replicate the issue, and then from there hopefully we can fix it. So then we can finally get the body work done on the Z, and then we can start wrapping it. And yes, the wrap did come in. If you follow my Instagram, you have already seen the color. I already took a picture of it and all that stuff so you can see it. But now let's go ahead and get back to the garage, and then my father's gonna have to give me a ride back here to get the Speed 3, which is right there. So, well, this is next is going to be trying to fix the problem. So got the car in the garage, we put it up on the ramps. We're gonna check the starter wire just in case that came loose, because that could possibly cause some problems. Not just safe to check it, and it's easy. But this right here is what I'm talking about. This right here, this little fuse box, this big one all the way on the end here, I'll pull it off in a second to show you that that's the main fusible link, which I think is the culprit. But you see all these wires coming off the positive battery terminal? A lot of these aren't stock. And from what I learned from looking at all the wiring diagrams, is obviously this one is for the amplifier and subwoofers. That's obvious with that big fuse. This one right here was the one that I was questioning, with this little inline fuse right here. This is the one I had a hard time finding, and it turns out this one right here goes to, oh, it's Mia! Hi, Mia! It goes to all the power in the main console right here. So we're gonna let this heat soak actually spread out. So we're gonna close the hood, let it sit for a couple hours, let the heat dissipate throughout the engine bay. You know, have it heat up this and all this, because last time we got here, this was hot. You know, this is obviously hot, but it just radiates. So we're gonna get that done. Hopefully we can get that something separate and then replicate the issue, and then we can diagnose. So it's been about an hour and a half now, and we still have full power on everything. So now what I think I'm gonna do, since everything is working and the car is pretty much cooled down, is I'm going to start fiddling with that main fusible link and just see if I touch it or just start moving it, if the power starts flickering on and off, because at this point we can't get it to replicate that. And one thing I do want to take a note of is that when I was driving this to the garage, I hit a bump, and when I hit the bump, everything on the gauge cluster went out. So the gauges went out, all the lights went out, everything. So obviously it's something loose bouncing. I don't think it's a ground. So let's go ahead and start playing with that fusible link and see what happens. So this wire right here, this is the main fusible link for the car. So you see how it's a normal wire instead of a fuse like the one next to it? It acts the same way as a fuse, as in there's a small 12 gauge wire in there, and it's wrapped by a lot of insulation. And it's very easy just for the wire inside of there to pop, just like a fuse would, but you might not be able to see it because it's wrapped up. Sometimes they're completely burnt up, and in some cases it's not. And I think this might be a case of it's not. We pulled the main fusible link. It wasn't that. That's actually like, it's a brand new piece. A lot of the fuses are brand new. Well, not brand new, but you know, they're a couple years old. The car is still working, and the problem is with intermittent electrical problems is you don't know if you fixed it or not, if it's not happening while you're, you know, if the problem is going on while you're working on it and it goes away, yes. But if it's not having the problem and you just start tinkering with stuff, you don't know if you fixed the problem or not. So obviously it has something to do with being heat soaked, and then it also has something to do with being loose. But the thing is, a relay is a big thing. It wouldn't be affected by heat soak. a normal wire would. But when the car is behaving, it's really difficult to troubleshoot that. If you guys have any suggestions, leave them down in the comments below. But it's not a fuse, it's not a relay, and it's not the main fusible link. And no, it's not a ground. All the grounds are good. Check that. We're good there. So it has to be an intermittent wire somewhere. If you guys have an idea, let me know. So here we are a couple hours later. The car is still working like nothing ever happened. And like I said before, that's a problem because it's like chasing a ghost. It's not misbehaving, so we can't try and pinpoint what's happening. We've heat soaked it a bunch of times. So that's what we're trying to do with the car. Like I said before, if you guys have any ideas, please let me know down below and I will keep you updated. But the problem is I can't take it to the body shop because if it's misbehaving like this, they don't want to have a dead car in the body shop. So I'm not sure what to do. But like I said, I'll keep you guys updated. Peace.